What's up guys, Bearded Jeeper here. Today we're talking about tire inflation. We're going to give you a review of the Autlead Tire Inflator. Alright guys, what we have here is the Autlead Tire Inflator. Now this is a nice little compact unit. Has your digital readout right here and on and off button. You got an SOS light here in the back. It's a pretty sleek little design. Now in the bottom, this doesn't really, it's one of my main gripes about this is you have this cord and it plugs into your cigarette lighter, but you can't really ever, it's like a sleeping bag, you can never get the cord back up in here well enough to look nice and actually store it in there. So that stores in there. What I think's really neat is how the air hose is laid out. It's all woven in here. I hate to go with another negative, but it has to be this end of the hose here. This will thread onto your tire, which is great, but you can't thread any other kind of attachments on here if you wanted to inflate something else. It's literally just a threaded end that's gonna thread on. There might be adapters you can buy, nothing I really know about, but you can only thread this onto your tire and that's about it. So if you wanted to use it for anything else, you couldn't. I would like to see this a little bit longer. It is kind of short. I know a lot of them will have like the braided lines and stuff. That's why I wanted to see a different kind of connector, because I could have connected a different line to here. But it is what it is. Small little cheap unit. Alright, but you guys are going to want to know how this thing functions. Is it suitable enough for off-road tires? I have to say no. I wouldn't recommend this air compressor for anyone who is in the off-road world. It's a great little compressor if you have a tiny little car, maybe a Prius or something like that, but it just takes forever to inflate. I sat there for, it says it can inflate from 0 to 35 psi in like 6 or 9 minutes, I think it says, but this thing took a little longer than that. It probably took me 10 to 15 minutes to even inflate from, I think the tires on the Cherokee here were maybe 16 psi. One of them was real low, it was like 6 psi. Just to get to like 30 psi took like 12 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. So it's real slow and doesn't really work well for big off-road tires. Now if you had a little car, might inflate it pretty quick and get you back on the road. Some of the great features of this though are it has a cigarette lighter adapter, so you don't have to worry about hooking it up to your battery. You just plug it into your little 12-volt power outlet spot and you have power to it and you can inflate your tires. Another really cool feature about this is you can set it to whatever PSI you want, and once you reach the desired PSI, this thing will shut off automatically. I thought it wasn't gonna work well at first because I set it to like 30 psi and it just kept going and going and going, but it took a little bit to actually stop, but it will stop once it reaches the desired PSI. One other feature that I really like about this compressor is that it doesn't get hot. You'll see a lot of other little compressors like this try to struggle to inflate tires. This will inflate your tires. It'll take a little bit, but I was putting my hands all over the unit trying to see if it was getting any warm at all. This didn't get warm at all. It stayed cool to the touch, which I think is pretty impressive for this tiny little compressor. So I don't know if it's just not putting out enough juice to generate enough heat or that you would feel it, but I know some of my other compressors will get really hot, and it's really neat that this one doesn't. As you can see, this has a really nice, easy to read display, and you don't have to worry about not being able to read or trying to read a little gauge that sometimes the backing of the gauge will get dirty and you can't see what it says. This is a nice clean digital display. So right off the bat, as soon as you hook it up to your tire, it tells you what PSI you're at. It says I'm about 33 PSI. Then if you hold the plus button down, it'll start to blink, and then you can increase it to whatever you want. Let's set it to 35 PSI. And goes back to telling you what we're at right now. We're at 33, so 2 PSI. Let's see how long it takes to inflate. And just like that, it stopped. Now I'm not 100% sure how accurate this actually is, because I set it to 35 PSI, but on the screen here, it did say 35 PSI, then when it stopped, now it's saying 34.5 PSI. So, I mean, half a PSI, I don't think it really would matter that much, but if you're really picky about it, it's half a PSI off. So this is how you pack it up. You take this little thing and feed it through here. So that stores nice and neat in there. Now you have this really long power cord. It's like 12 feet or something. It's long. There's a little cavity here that you try to shove all the wires down in, so let's see what we can do. It might work a little better if you shove this piece in first, so let's try to do that. Shove that down in there. I got it in there. Doesn't look pretty, and I had to do a lot of shoving, but got it in there. Alright, so the Autlead Tire Inflator compressor. Here's my final take on it. The pros and the cons. The pros are, it's small. It's a tiny little compact package that you can put this in your glove box even, and you won't have to worry about it. Another pro is this thing doesn't get warm. It stays cool to the touch. Even inflating big old tires, it still stays cool. Some things I don't like about this little cord, I think it's cool that it fits in here, but it's short. I mean, you have a really long power cable that doesn't really need to be necessarily that long, and it doesn't fit real well on the bottom here, and you have this tiny little cord to inflate, and you can't add anything onto here because this just has the end that screws into your valve stem. I'd like to see something been able to add an extension if you needed to, make it a little longer if you have a bigger vehicle you need to reach around, or you want to inflate your buddy's rig. So that's definitely a big drawback for me. I think one of the biggest drawbacks for this little compressor though is it takes forever on big tires. Yeah, this might be fine for a tiny little car, your grandma's car, but it's not good for off-roading and big old tires. It will do the trick. It will inflate it in a pinch. If you have this, it's better than nothing. You're gonna be able to inflate your tires. It's just gonna take a little while. And I haven't seen it get hot, so that's a definite plus on that side. So, should you get this compressor? If you're in the off-road industry, I would say no. If you have big old tires that you're looking to inflate, it's gonna take you a while. You could get this as a backup in case your compressor fails, because it'll still inflate your tires, it's just gonna take a little longer. If you have a little car, this would be great to keep in there. You could throw it in your glove box, forget about it, and if you have a low tire, you can fill it up quick and easy. It's just not a suitable compressor for those big off-road tires. So I think I might give this thing away if any of you guys want it. If you want to see a giveaway on this little tiny compressor, leave a comment below, let me know, and we'll do a giveaway on it. And I don't know, we'll make it something easy, but if you guys want to see a giveaway on this, let me know in the comments. We'll make it happen. So if you do want to pick up this compressor in case your compressor dies, this is a good little backup to keep in your glove box or whatever. I'll post a link in the description below so you can check it out and see all the specs and whatever. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll get right back to you. I'll answer any questions I can on this little unit. As always guys, stay bearded, stay Jeepin'. I'm out. If you didn't see before, I have hats for sale. I'll have a link in the top of the description so you can check it out if you want. Basically, you click the link, there's a bunch of blanks, hat blanks. You choose the color you want. Send me the money via PayPal, 25 bucks a hat, and I will order them all up once a couple weeks go by, and then I will submit them in. We'll get the hats made up, and as soon as I get them in, I'll ship them right out to you.